remember who is the actual opposition leader, but one of the people who think they should be prime minister, Yair Lapid, who also was prime minister for about a weekend right before Netanyahu's current term, has come up with a peace plan, the peace plan that will actually bring peace to the Middle East. It is that Egypt will take over Gaza for 15 years and then it'll be handed over to the Palestinian Authority. If that sounds familiar, that's because it's basically let's repeat what has happened in the past, and we will get completely different results this time. Also, in recent days, the BBC has come out with some sort of series of documentaries. I think we're going to be talking about the BBC a lot in coming days, and one of them featured former Israeli Prime Minister and convicted criminal who spent time in prison, Ehud Olmert, talking about. The peace that he tried to make, what he offered Mahmoud Abbas, who rejected it, and how that would have brought peace to the Middle East. So yeah, the Palestinians, the other Arab countries keep telling Israel who they are, and Israel keeps telling them, no, that's not you. You don't really want to slaughter us all. What you really want is peace with a Jewish state. When will Israel learn, and will it be too late? Welcome to the reality show. I'm joined by Daniel, Alejandro, Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm going to go to you first. You've seen and heard of peace plans throughout history. Uh, am I right in saying Lapid has cracked the code, and this is what we really need? Egypt and then the Palestinian Authority.
Well, I mean, Razi, I'm speaking a little bit out of my area of expertise, but I recommend John David Lewis's book, Nothing Less Than Victory, on winning a war. And to me, as a neophyte, sycophant, or neophyte, not sycophant, neophyte, it seems like before the peace comes, you actually have to win the war. The war has to be ended. And knowing what Miss Rand said about how ideas move the world, it seems to me as if the anti-Jew bloodlust of the Palestinian people that is present throughout a lot of the Middle East has to change. Those ideas have to change, or there can be no peace. And it's only because, I'm in my early 40s now, let's just say. Since I was a kid, it's been the PLO and the Islamic Jihad and all these different groups always fighting Israel, always fighting the West, always fighting Americans, because the ideas haven't changed at all. Contrast that to the ending of the Second World War. Japan's ideas changed a lot. Germany's ideas changed a lot. Those countries became prosperous, productive, modern, friends of the West, parts of the West. So, whatever this plan is, unless the war is won, I don't think that you'll see peace, not for one damn moment.
Well, one has to wonder if Nothing Less Than Victory would have been as successful as it was had it been published under its original title, Nothing Less Than Surrendering to Any Terrorist Who Wants You to Surrender. That is a Seinfeld reference for those of you who haven't watched the show. Do it right after this show. Alejandro.
Well, Rassi, you asked why and when will Israel learn? And I don't think this is an issue of learning, or not directly. Of course, fact and values are related, but this is an issue of values, an issue of essentially guilt. And one of the things that surprised me when I came to the developed world is that every people that comes and asks you for money, they're in their 30s, and most people don't give them money. Why? Because they know that their goal is not to they're there not to fulfill basic needs, but because they essentially want that money to do other more nefarious means. They also know that if someone approaches you in the street with a knife, it's not because they want their mommy didn't love them, but because they are evil people and they want to mug you and they want to steal whatever you have in your wallet. They know the essentials, and they know about certain amount of justice to discern that certain actions are evil and should be reprimanded and should have a certain consequences. However, whenever it comes to the issue of Israel and the like, everything that on that context just vanishes from their mind. And apparently, what people that build bombs, that kill babies, that kidnap innocent persons, what they really wanted is just to have their land, to have a tunnel that connects to each other, a nice little house near the sea, so that they can live peacefully together. Nobody believes that. Anyone that more or less has any approach to those people will ever believe that if they think honestly. But this is not about honesty as such, or primarily about honesty. This is about guilt. They only espouse that, they only say that because they think that they should assume an honored guilt. And as Ayn Rand said, there's nothing that should make you feel guilty as honored guilt. That's paraphrasing her comment.
Akira says in the chat, Razi only made the Seinfeld reference because I made a Friends reference. I actually missed it. I now saw it, but no, Seinfeld references are free, and there should be more of them. Paul asks, where's Alejandro from? Some undisclosed location in apparently what is not the developed world, which I would have I don't know what fully counts as the developed world, but Jonathan, do you have?
I mean, read first of all. Akira is a YouTube member, which we really appreciate. So is the Light Life. You keep us going. We are 100% supported by our viewers. We provide unique information every day, influenced by Ayn Rand's objectivism, and thanks to you. So thanks, Akira. And the super chat of his, or the chat of his that I noticed, Razi, was that he or she notes the fact that this is coming just days after the Bibas tragedy is absurd, which I think is spot on. Where is the carpet bombing after that? Why is there any negotiation after that? The handing over of these hostages, aka murdered children?
Yeah, it's not just coming days after that. It's the opposition. So you would think that, yeah, if the carpet bombing isn't coming, the opposition would at least say, where is the carpet bombing, rather than why aren't you surrendering more? Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, sorry if I was laughing through all of this because there's just so many puns that I was thinking of. But the first thing that came to mind when it comes to this situation, it's like a Snickers commercial. You know, you're not you when you're hungry. So we have to give Palestinians back territory because if they don't have it, it's our fault actually. The fact that they use terrorism to achieve their goals, the fact that they have pretty much no desire to have a free nation, no desire to have any sort of Western style of government, any sort of liberal democracy, that is our fault because we do not give them what they are ordained by God. Or I don't know. I believe Yair Lapid is more on the secular side. I don't know what he thinks gave Palestinians the sort of inherent right to the land. But it's always the same. It's always the biggest problem when it comes to any solution to this conflict is that nobody even recognizes what is the problem. Everybody says, well, it's just they are terrorists because we took the land, not that they want Jews gone and they will do anything they can to do it. And if you take it from that side, you understand that there is no land you could give them that would satisfy their urges. Not, I think the original or the second plan we're going to talk about, like 98% of the West Bank with land exchanges. There is nothing really that could sort of satisfy it because that is not the goal. They never wanted a state. When Israel was established and there was still some land, in a sense, left, specifically the West Bank and Gaza, there was no Palestinian state established. Egypt took Gaza and didn't even make Gazan citizens, and Jordan took West Bank. They did make some citizens of the Arabs in the West Bank, but there was no desire to establish any state because it never was the thing. It is the thing right now because that is sort of the thing that allows us to destroy Israel a bit more easily. And whenever there is any sort of solution that promises some sort of two-state solution, some sort of establishment of the Palestinian state, uh, either they won't take it because it doesn't give them enough power and they think they can get more, or it's just gonna fuel more Israeli destruction. And again, even if this happened and there was a two-state established, what would we do if there was still terrorism coming out from the Palestinian side? We would offer more.
And Daniel, from what I understand, some of the audio that the IDF captured from the terrorist on October 7th, one calling back to his mother in the territory in Gaza, not saying, Mom, I've claimed our homeland back, or I've liberated the country, saying, oh, I've shot this many Jews. I killed 10 Jews. I've shot, I killed 5 Jews, however many, what it was. That's what the pride was. And if you listen to them, listen to the young people, young Palestinians, listen to what they're taught. They are taught to hate Jews. They're taught to hate the West from the get-go. That doesn't happen in Israel. And that's why I just go back to, Miss Rand's comments. It's like ideas move the world. How can the civilization go anywhere as long as that is what they believe? That is their goal, is bloodlust against the Jewish people. And why should the Jewish people have to stand for that for 1 minute?
Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says, I all the time have discussions online or in the streets with people saying Bibi also doesn't want peace. This both sides want war argument is so annoying. Well, it's factually incorrect. I mean, and you see this in the delusion and the fact that a mainstream politician, one who is could be prime minister and was prime minister, is saying, no, we can still have peace. We just haven't offered the right type of surrender so far. That's what you're dealing with. And I mean, these people you talk to, I don't know why you talk to them, but if you're gonna talk to them, point out certain things that in terms of what the international community, those who don't fully outright say they want Israel exterminated, say, like Israel is killing civilians and so on. Israel is breaking the world record in fighting a war while avoiding civilian casualties. So, if Amnesty and Amnesty International and the Irish government, among others, wanted to redefine genocide so that Israel can be accused of it properly, you would have to redefine it so that every side in every war in human history is guilty of genocide. And yeah, once you get to that definition, then that is also applicable to Israel. But yeah, that's where we are with these people. That's why I don't talk to them. Thanks, Gail, for the super chat. Alejandro.
Just one correction on my previous comment. I think that I meant I could have given the understanding that there is a clash between honesty and values, and that those are separate. I don't think that they're separate. They're joined together. I think the view that they are separate is what's killing Israel. The notion that on the one hand there's justice, and recognition of reality, and on the other hand you have values and taking care of the weak and to be very altruistic. That's what's killing the West. First of all, that's what I should have said at the beginning. Now, I think certainly if you want to destroy the concept of genocide, if you want to break up what reality means, that's another way to put it. If you want to use, if you want to reclaim the what genocide means and change it, and then the concept loses any of its meaning. Period.
Yeah, it literally has to mean being a side in a war. I want to read this comment, which is off topic but worthy of being read. Bronx guy says, Jonathan, I used to watch you on Fox. It was right after 9/11. Pretty much, I was a survivor. Let me see if I remember correctly. Your first stock was Starbucks, correct? That's yeah.
That is correct, and welcome to our channel. And it's a word I use not in the mystical sense, certainly not around here, but bless you as a survivor. I'm happy that you're living and you're with us and exploring Ayn Rand's ideas. I mean, I picked up Miss Rand a little earlier than that, in the late 1990s, and have been just, a student ever since. So welcome to Ayn Rand Center UK. We're a global community. You're here 7 days a week, and talking about current events and applying them to Miss Rand's ideas. And Razi, Miss Rand's answer on Donahue, a few of them on the Middle East are so kind of apt all the time. And I'm not going to ask you to read it, but she emphasized with Donahue that if there wasn't swift action taken after the U.S. embassy had been overrun, the Iranian embassy, if there wasn't swift action, then I think she said something to the effect of like, the U.S. would be paying it down over decades. And isn't this all the same of what it is? You get attacked, you don't answer forcefully, swiftly, immediately, and until complete surrender, and the attacks just keep coming. They certainly have for Israel.
I will read it. I just want to say, yeah, I've mentioned this before, but I also watched Jonathan on Fox back then before knowing he's an objectivist. I didn't remember that your first stock was Starbucks, but I'm now trying to do the math now, and it's basically you bought it. Basically, you're like people who bought Bitcoin when it was like 5 cents, right? Because Starbucks must have gone up during.
Thank you, Bronx guy Gun, for the super chat. Much appreciated.
Thank you for that. And let me now read that. So the question, this is from 1980. What should be the U.S. policy in the Iranian crisis? How should we get the hostages back? And her answer was never to allow the country to get into that situation. It's certainly the fault of our foreign policy, and at present, there's no right course of action. It's too late. If we didn't march with force the first or second day after the hostages were taken, nothing we do after that will be any good, and it will take us years to live it down. Well, it's been over 40 years, and we're still paying the price.
And after October 7th, like if on this channel we were advocating for immediate, forceful military response, and it didn't happen, and it's culminating in this just hideous prisoner exchange and peace talks and all that only has advocates for Islamist terrorism cheering, dancing, literally dancing in the streets.
Yeah, and people who remember our October 9th episode of the Daily Objective titled Why Israel Can't Win, and who were upset at the time that we had such a title at such a time. This is why we had that title. I mean, it was, we do apply, as Jonathan said, we apply Rand's ideas to the best of our understanding of them, to current events, to politics. And it was clear then, and unfortunately, when I used to say on every show, certainly right after, I hope I'm wrong. I still say that, but look, if you go back, watch our shows on October 7th, 8th, 9th, unfortunately, everything we said was right. I keep saying the only thing I got wrong is I bought Biden's pro-Israel rhetoric for those first couple of days before seeing what he is actually doing. Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was checking what was the first stock I ever bought. It was Amazon, actually. That was the first thing I bought. But for other investors, Egyptian bonds are something maybe you should look into, because as a part of the plan of Yair Lapid, a part of it is going to be that Egyptian external debt is going to be completely erased. I think it's about 150 billion towards many different countries all over the world, for basically them occupying or taking care of Gaza for 15 years until we give it back to the Palestinian Authority. And I loved the fact that we came around the first circle. When Israel was first established, Egypt started occupying Gaza. Israel took out Egypt in one war and took Gaza and Sinai. It gave it back Sinai. Now we're gonna give back Gaza again. and to see if maybe this time around it's gonna lead into something different. I mean, again, what Gaza requires, what the Palestinian people require at the current stage is a harsh occupation that reminds them the fact that there is you cannot go around killing Jews or killing any people for that matter, set up a whole system just for that, and then basically walk away with nothing really being happening to you. Egypt won't be able to do that. I mean, they have no even desire to really wipe out this ideology from the minds of the Palestinians. All of Arab world want Palestinians to be the basically the people that are going to be constantly attacking Israel. And the fact that and yeah, even if they manage to sort of not have anything done, no terrorist attacks happening in 15 years, with good luck with that, then we're gonna give it back to Palestinian Authority. So a new terrorist organization can, a new terrorist organization will take back Gaza, and then probably a more extremist terrorist organization will then take over Gaza like Hamas did in 2006, and we're gonna be basically back at square one. But in the meantime, we did take a little bit more of Syria. So maybe in about like 50 years, Israel will finally take over the land that is necessary.
And the 15-year thing as well. I mean, every part of this plan is bad, so I don't want to start breaking it up. But 15 years, it reminds me, by the way, Daniel and Jonathan's investment advice is not to be taken as investment advice, and whatever the whatever qualifications need to be put on that. But yeah, it's 15 years. So the Palestinian Authority knows when they're getting it. They just need to wait it out. It does remind me of Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister of Britain, saying that he's going to sell a bunch of gold and saying exactly when, so that the market could adjust itself to that.
Yeah, and just to quickly jump on, they don't even need to wait it out. They can do terrorist attacks in the meantime. We've known that Palestinians, even if there is a deal that is currently ongoing, they can do terrorist attacks. They can still violate even that deal, and they'll still actually, Israel will continue fulfilling that deal. So that they can continue existing like they have been.
And the hostages that they return don't even have to be actually living anymore. They can just be corpses, or actually not even the actual person. Wasn't the mother of this family that they swap that out with just some other random body? I mean,
well, yeah, that is one of the things that Israel did actually say, this is not something we're gonna allow, and then they did send the body. But Israel has allowed the ceremonies. It has allowed from the start. I mean, this deal, there was a reason why it was in stages. The reason was Hamas benefits from having this show every few days. Okay, there are some comments in the chat I want to get to, and I want to thank Govin for gifting an Ayn Rand Center UK YouTube membership. Paul, congratulations for getting that membership. You now have access to, among other things, the Atlas Shrugged Book Club, which is in a couple of hours on this channel for members only. Alejandro.
Just two related things. One, what is the moral legitimacy of Egypt? It's a mediocre country governed by a bunch of authoritarian guys who haven't made something worthy of telling, aside of starting wars and continuing them and oppressing its people. Why should you let them govern anywhere? And the related comment to this is that we should be switching our gear into a real evaluation of what it means on sovereignty and moral legitimacy to govern a country. Before this war, you could say that, and I'm saying before this war because I'm not even sure about that, but let's avoid the context of the war. You could have said that Palestinians have rights. And that's what gives any government that recognizes such rights and behaves in such a way to recognize those rights has the moral legitimacy to govern over that piece of land. And in this context, that certainly is Israel. Um, we should only see things from that point of view. There's no such thing as, well, this tribe wants this land. They should have the right to see it, to do whatever they want on it. If they want to oppress, kill, exterminate a certain group of people in their land, well, it's their land. That's what they do. That's such a moral perversion, such a disgusting view, the disgusting view of what politics is. Nor a country like Egypt or Saudi Arabia or Iran or almost half of the Middle East, if not all, the whole the Middle East, discounting Israel, they have no say. They have no moral legitimacy to say anything. They shouldn't be included in this. They, like, anything that they should say should be shushed. They have nothing to do with this. However, the moral travesty of this is that Israel is pleading to them to take care of Gaza, is pleading to them to be part of this deal. This is so disgusting. But yet, this appears to be the case. By the way, Hamas is still there. Hamas is still operational. I'm still, whenever I read this kind of news, I think if I'm starting to think if I'm not schizophrenic or have any mental disease, because people are talking about what they're going to do with Gaza when the war hasn't been finished. This is a ceasefire which will very likely become a moderate truce. I simply am unable to really put a concretized way of seeing this thing.
I have to say, I would be surprised if fighting isn't resumed at some point, but I don't think it would be proper fighting. I don't think this current ceasefire is going to directly just continue into a truce. But I've seen Israel do things just as bad. But yeah, the point about how morally perverse it is that we treat Egypt as a country rather than a gang that took over a big chunk of land with people in it, which is what any dictatorship is. A big example of that was an op-ed in the New York Times before October 7th. I don't remember how far before, but we did a show on this on the channel by Thomas Friedman. There was talk about Israel and Saudi Arabia normalizing relations, and he wrote saying Saudi Arabia shouldn't do this because it legitimizes Netanyahu's government. So that's how far we've come. This is Thomas Friedman in the New York Times. This isn't some fringe weirdo somewhere, with a blog. This is a one of the most respected commentators in the U.S. So yeah, terrifying. I want to quickly get to some of the comments here. Then I have some more to say about the Lapid's peace plan, but we'll get to that. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, I just heard an Irish MEP was denied entry to Israel. Great news. She's Sinn Féin. Is that so? I haven't heard that. Is just now?
Yep.
I have. Okay, that's great because there was a story yesterday as well with the I believe it's a French member of the European Parliament who came to Israel. There's it's beautiful. There's videos of her being turned away, then being sat at the very last row of the plane where there's no window. She has a window seat, those window seats, but with no actual window. Not full justice, but poetic justice. And just a couple of other things. Akira said in the context of Rand's answer, he said, and Rand was just talking. It wasn't even on an essay. Yeah, this was her in a Q&A, and the brilliance of Rand really comes through. This is I'm reading it from this book, which is not in great condition, but is available in better condition online. Ayn Rand Answers. So it's you get all of those, not all, but many of her answers and Q&As. And Wonder Freeman says, search Peikoff in Iran for the O'Reilly 6-minute interview in 2001. Yeah, that interview also says a lot about the state of the culture. This is in the US. This is on Fox News right after 9/11. Peikoff speaks sense. And O'Reilly is shocked because he's not used to hearing those kinds of ideas and Yeah, that interview shows how far a distance we still have to travel. Daniel.
I'm just trying to remember the interview. Was that after 9/11? Because I thought,
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
was it?
shortly
Okay.
after 9/11.
yeah.
Um, uh,
And O'Reilly was like, "Slow down, doctor. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Wait a minute, doctor. You're gonna get everyone angry if you respond respond like that." That's what I remember about it.
Yeah, and sort of because Razi mentioned a bit earlier, I guess Alejandro started it, about the legitimacy of Egypt, but it's the same as every time else. It's at least it's not the Muslim Brotherhood, so it's marginally better than the complete Islamists. So we make a deal with them the same way we are now supporting the Palestinian Authority. Well, at least it's not Hamas, so we're gonna support it. And again, we keep support, like even when it comes to foreign aid, Egypt is being propped up by the Western world, or mainly by America, with foreign aid for the same reason, basically. Well, at least they are fighting the terrorists in the region, so they are sort of our allies, similar to how we support Saudi Arabia. Well, at least it's a counterweight to Iran. We keep supporting the dictatorships because we feel like, well, if we support these dictatorships, maybe we don't have to actually recognize that we have to fight the actual dictatorships that are killing our citizens. So as long as Saudi Arabia is in place, we never have to have a war with Iran. It just sort of like equalizes itself, so we don't have to deal with it. And we keep doing this like half measure, or barely even half measured responses that do indeed basically make this like sustaining war. Like, it's always gonna be here, nothing's ever gonna change, because there is never an actual solution, there is never a recognition of what even is the problem. So we keep repeating the same things again and again um until like October 7 happens, and now we see that even that is clearly not enough. So, and or 9/11, 9/11 even wasn't enough to really wake up the Western world. So we keep going further, and we keep are gonna be getting tougher and tougher, um, sort of terrible things that are gonna happen in the Western world, until we realize maybe something needs to be done. And what I'm afraid of is we'll never realize it.
Yeah, Jonathan, I mean, that has been kind of Western approach, America's approach to conflicts with in terms of who we support or who our allies are. It is very much, well, at least they're not terrorist organization that is responsible for the last attack. Therefore, they are somehow our allies. And we always pay the price for that. And we, again, always, we never learn the lesson, or as Alejandro says, it's not a lesson. It's not the lesson of history that we should learn, but it's actually a lesson of values.
I think the unfortunate lesson that will have been learned here is that kidnapping is a very effective means to get whatever you want. If you're some militant Islamist group, kidnapping in the West, kidnapping in Israel it works. Low cost, it works.
Yeah. Um, WUB says the Egyptians are even worse than the government there. That would not surprise me at all. One other thing about this plan. So how does Lapid propose to sell it to Egypt that they get back Gaza, which they didn't want even when they had a peace deal with Israel. They're like, you keep that. We want the desert where there are no people rather than the strip where there are, you know, Gazans or Palestinians or whatever you want to call them. Well, the idea is to wipe off Egypt's debt of $155 billion, is it? To billion, trillion, potato, to the rest of the world. Now, uh, why, if you're gonna, I'm still trying to see within the limitations of current politics, international affairs, why not suggest that as how to sell Egypt on taking the people from Gaza without taking the plot of land? Why not, offer that to somebody else? Maybe Egypt isn't a particular bind, but why not? Why, especially when there's a president in the White House at the moment who suggested that, and you are wanting to be prime minister, and he likes people to agree with him on stuff. Why not do that? I mean, we saw that with Israel's disgraceful vote in the UN yesterday against Ukraine alongside the US, Russia, and North Korea. Maybe a topic for another day, but yeah, why did Israel vote all of a sudden against Ukraine? Because they all of a sudden thought about the issue and decided that Russia are the good guys? No, because they're afraid of what Trump will say if Israel doesn't vote, and he'll say something, well, we veto everything against you, and now you're not voting with us on Ukraine. Yeah, Alejandro.
Well, why not offer that, or to at least suggest some distinction of the two-state solution? Well, I said it at the beginning, it's guilt. The whole notion that it's behind these crazy schemes, these totally unjust offerings, is the idea that Israel must give to people that don't deserve to be given anything, or the only thing that they deserve is a bunch of bombs in their houses. That's it. Whenever you concede that your aim is not to help yourself, whatever is the furthest away for yourself, it's going to be the better. So this plan that they are proposing is going to be superseded in some years by some plan that gives up some of Israeli land, and so on and so on and so on. The real plan, the one that it's converging to, and that it will converge at some point, it could be in 5 years, it could be in 10 years, it could be in 100 years if this trend continues. I'm unable to do that. But the perfect plan, according to this principle, is Israel gets zero land, and Israelis get slaughtered. That's the only alternative that it takes you to.
Sorry, I missed the last few seconds because I was looking at the chat, because I was thinking before, right before this happened, that Govan gifted a membership, but is not a member himself. Thank you, Apollo Zeus, for gifting a YouTube membership, which went to Govan. So yeah, YouTube is just. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to really say about this topic? I mean, yeah, again, the idea of wiping out debt, that is not some magical thing that oh, we just do it and it doesn't have any consequences. Depending on how it's done, that's Israeli taxpayers or American taxpayers or any other, unless because I think a bunch of that and also it's external debt. A bunch of that debt is also, it's not like the whole all of their debt that they have, but a bunch of it is also owned by China. Is China actually gonna like basically forgive that debt, or are we gonna have to pay them out? So again, this is taxpayers' dollars that are going to a dictatorship again. So they take Gaza, so they don't really do anything with that again. It's such an avoidance of like actually trying to do anything. It's such a looking for shortcuts, and Yair Lapid is throwing into something like we are offering like actual solutions. You're offering surrendering to neighboring dictatorships, to Hamas themselves, who will probably not even go out of power if Egypt takes control of Gaza. And even if it does, it's going to be Palestinian Authority that comes back. And even if it's just Palestinian Authority, there is, again, no guarantee that some other Islamist or more Islamist terrorist group doesn't take over Gaza again. So we're going to be back where we were, but now we gave them even more money. I mean, not a single cent should go to any of these dictatorships. If there is any money to be used, it should be used to bolster up defenses or bolster up the occupation that it should be done by Israel. There is simply no way of going around it. Again, as we said, any sort of occupation of Gaza by Israel is going to be tough. This is the consequences of the fact that we didn't do it for you could go you could go to many places back in history where Israel has failed to do actual what is necessary, and this is what we pay for. Similar how, you know, during the Second World War, when we helped Soviet Union, we paid for 50 years and we are still paying for it. The same because we didn't manage the occupation of Gaza right the first time around. Now we're gonna suffer the consequences of it, and that sucks.
Yeah. Had something to add that I forgot. Akira says Razi is a kid at heart. That is, I don't know the context of that statement, but that is a correct statement. And Wonder Freeman says 2 states, one for Fatah, one for Hamas. The thing is, we had that in effect. You know, this is what Oslo and then the disengagement plan gave us. The West Bank largely controlled by Fatah, the Palestinian Authority, Hamas fully controlled, Gaza fully controlled by Hamas. The two went to war against each other at some point, and that's how we got to the current situation. And yeah, we still hear that solution being brought up in different variations. Yeah, Lapid didn't officially say he wants Hamas to run it. He wants Egypt to run it, but yeah, after that, the Palestinian Authority will take over, and you know who is going to be in charge of the Palestinian Authority then? Will it be the savages who are now in charge? Will it be savages who are worse? It's not going to be civilized people. That we know for sure. Jonathan.
Yeah, the show is titled today, Razi, Peace in the Middle East, the delusion that never dies. And I fear that Israel's conduct in recent weeks, the ceasefire, the deals, has just inculcated a whole new young generation of future militants, and not too far into the future, a year, 2 years, 3 years. All the kids now who are 9, 10, 11 years old, maybe a little short, a little too young, they see the honor that fighting against Israel, kidnapping Jews, killing them, torturing them, and that, yes, in fact, they can bring evil Israel to its knees. So, the irony that the peace deal creates peace, is so farcical on its face. In my opinion, peace can't be created unless the war is actually won, unless the war is finished. And that's exactly what Israel is not doing.
Yeah, Wonder Freeman says, I made a joke, Razi. Yeah, just to clarify, I mean, I knew that was a joke, but that was not Wonder Freeman's actual Middle East peace plan, although it sounded very much like something that is offered when we hear Middle East peace plans. Look, Israeli prime ministers will come and go, but their peace plans will remain the same with these slight variations. And we will keep covering it until somebody in Israel says, no, you know what? Our peace plan, we want to spend some money on it, like $155 billion to wipe off Egypt's debt so that we remain in this same exact situation. No, if Israel spends any money on it, it should be on bombs to drop on Gaza and the West Bank, or on transportation, and the transportation should be kind of like the member of the European Parliament from France yesterday. If we can put them all in the last row of the plane right next to the toilet, I'd happily do that, but I don't think planes can really fly if they were all in the back. But anyway, parting thoughts, and where can people find you, Alejandro?
Parting thoughts: be very wary of any plan that is given regarding this. Any plan that it's proposed is very likely going to be very bad. This is one of the worst-ish. I would love to see something that more or less recognizes the rights of Israel as a right-recognizing nation, reduces the role of Saudi Arabia and its bully acolytes. Sadly, I don't expect to see that. Where can people know more about me? I've written a couple of essays in the Ayn Rand Center Substack, which should be linked to the description of this video. go ahead, read them. I've written about Milei, who is right now in the middle of a scandal regarding a crypto asset. I think this is very related to his character. So if you want to know a bit more about his character, you can go ahead into this Substack.
Jonathan, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Can You Really Love a Dog is the book I worked on with Dr. Leonard Peikoff. It is a must-own. Can You Really Love a Dog at Amazon.com.
And Daniel, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Damn Dan. It's gonna be in the description, as well as everybody's stuff is gonna be in the description. And the point is gonna be, as always, we need a leadership that is willing and able to recognize what is the real problem here. And it's the fact that the Palestinian culture is currently a dead culture that has no other desire than to wipe out Israel and Israelis, both Jewish and Arabs in many cases, from the face of the Middle East at the very least, and probably from the face of the earth. And unless that is recognized and steps are taken to mitigate that, we're looking forward to another October 7th.
These peace plans can be suggested, new ones or variations on the old ones can be suggested every day by politicians, and they make headlines. They're part of mainstream conversation. We are not. On this channel, we're not a part of the mainstream conversation. Our ideas are not a part of the mainstream conversation. We strongly believe that if they were, the world would be a better place. If you also share that view, consider liking, sharing, commenting. All that helps with the algorithm and helps immediately more people view these shows. And of course, if you are willing and able to do so, consider supporting us financially by becoming a member. You also get access to a bunch of different perks, which you can see if you click the link to membership. One of the things you get is the Atlas Shrugged Book Club, which comes up in about an hour and a half. There's a lot more. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow with the Daily Objective and the reality show.